Hi, welcome back to Watchwell Studio. We're going to be reviewing AO by Thundergriff Games. The designer is Andreas Sprayer and the illustrator is Matthew Mysak. In the box we get weapons cards, enemy cards, boss cards, an instruction leaflet, some rules, which could be a little better, and some deflect tokens. This is supposed to be a solitaire game of samurai battles, but if I wanted a solitaire game, I'd buy a jigsaw puzzle. It's supposed to have a cooperative version, but if I wanted a cooperative solitaire game, I'd play the jigsaw puzzle with my mum. So Senior Sprayer has some work to do to persuade me this is a good idea. Let's take a look. A samurai is surrounded by his opponents, who are positioned at the four corners of a surrounding square. They're drawn from opponent decks, and he has to use his weapon cards and his weapon deck to deal with the enemies. In the samurai phase, he draws cards, and he must match the position on his weapon cards to the position of his enemies, and he will deal with the topmost enemy each time. He can either defeat the enemy, in which case it will give him honor points, or he can deflect the enemy, in which case he will not get honor for defeating the opponent, but none of the rest of the opponents in the row will be able to attack him. Now in the enemy turn, the enemies will attack back. They'll do damage to the samurai according to their position in their rows, and the damage is taken from the weapon deck. So each point of damage removes a card. Now, the weapon deck can be replenished once, but when it's replenished again, it's only replenished according to the amount of honor you've earned during the fight so far. So it's necessary to gain honor during the first two series of fights so that you have enough weapons in the third fight. That's the basic game. There are two sorts of cards in the game. We have opponent cards, and we also have boss opponents, and we have weapon cards and some special weapons. We're going to take a look at the opponent cards first. The opponent cards have different artwork on them which can be significant, but the most important part is the damage and the honor. The honor points are the number of points you will get when you defeat the enemy, and the damage does damage to the samurai according to the position in its row. So in the topmost position this card will do 2, in the second position it will do 1, and in the final position it will do 1. This entire stack would do 2 plus 2 plus 3. Boss cards are a special sort of enemy, and they have a static ability which triggers at the beginning of the turn. This one will take one of your honor points, and this one summons an extra 3 enemies. Now the weapon cards also have these fabulous illustrations by Matthew Mysak, and in this case the weapons correspond to positions where your enemies are going to be, and you're going to need to match the positions on the cards to the positions of the enemy. This one will allow you to attack in the top left, top right, bottom right, and so on. And some weapons have multiple positions. The special weapon card allows you to attack in all 4. Now, in addition to simply using the weapons to match the position to the position of the enemies, the samurai can concentrate. Concentrate means to rotate the card so that it matches another position. The rotation is done clockwise, and the steps are 90 degrees each. But for every step you rotate, you have to pay an extra card from your weapon stack. So this is something that you can do if you really need to, but you don't want to if you don't have to, and it's why some weapons are better than others, and the special weapons are very good indeed, because they don't need concentration. Now when the samurai attacks, he's got 2 options. He can either defeat the opponent, or he can deflect the opponent. You're always addressing the topmost card in the row, and you can only use the weapon once. If you defeat the enemy, he will go to the honor stack and give you honor points according to the number of points marked on the card. If you deflect the opponent, he is only discarded and he won't give you honor points, but the entire row is deflected and can't do damage to you. So here's the crux of the game. You need to earn as many honor points as you can during the early stages of the game so that you have enough honor points for the final weapon deck so that you can defeat the bosses. Replenishing the weapons deck. When the samurai runs out of weapons, he replenishes the deck, and he can do it twice. The first time he does it, he gets all of the weapons back and you just shuffle the cards together. The second time, you can only take as many cards as you have honor points, and you must estimate how many weapons you're going to need to finish the fight, up to the maximum number of honor points you have. So here's the game. You need to make as many honor points in the first two decks so that when you get to the third stage, you can have enough cards to finish the fight. And then you need to make a judgment about how many weapons you're going to need. It's really interesting. So here's the setup for the one-player game. You remove the Yamabushi Junior Boss cards, the Kickstarter Stretch Goal Hatamoto cards. You need to shuffle your deck of boss cards and set aside your special weapon cards. Shuffle your normal weapon cards, and then you're going to make 3 stacks of enemies and position them at the 4 corners surrounding your samurai. The 4th card of each stack will be a randomly chosen boss card. And then you're ready to play.
Why should I employ you, samurai? I have plenty of soldiers. Watch this. I'll show you something, says Sanjuro. Draw 4 cards. I'm going to deflect this row. And these are all the same. Look, there's a problem. I'm going to concentrate to attack that opponent, and I have to pay an extra weapon card. Going to do it again. Concentrate. And I'll pay, and I will use this card to deflect that row. Now, in the opponent turn, they do 2 damage, 1, 1, and 2. That's 6. It's not a great start. These cards are eliminated, but I don't get honor for them. Draw 4 new cards. And we get new opponents. Draw 4 cards. Now, if I do a lot of concentrating, I will run out of cards, and if I run out of cards this time, I can refresh the deck for free. I take 2, 3, 4 damage, but I can't do that, so we refresh the deck for free. Do a quick shuffle of the cards. And I see that I've mistakenly left a enemy card from my honor pile there, so I'll put that back where it should be. So now, new enemies come out, including a boss. So the boss sits at the back of his row of minions, as you would expect. good. Now we have to activate this boss ability at the beginning of the turn, and that is 1 honor point. It's going to do that damage, do that effect every turn that he's on the battlefield, so I want to get through this row if I can. I'm going to draw 4 new weapons, and I get a special weapon. These are eliminated, but they're not giving me honor. But you can see that what I'm trying to do is simply eliminate by deflecting rows with these low honor point opponents and try to defeat the opponents that give me the most honor. Here you go. This is the point of the game. We're trying to gain as much honor as we can. Beginning of the turn. This effect is already triggered, only triggers once. This one loses another point of honor. Now I can reconstruct my weapons deck with as many honor points as I have, and I have 34, I've already counted these, so I'm going to take 24 weapon cards. That will leave me 10 honor points remaining, and I have to discard the 34 honor points. 24 honor points. So I shuffle my weapons, and I take 24. Now, beginning at the opponent turn, I take 2 points of damage. I can draw 4 weapons, so I got this exactly right in terms of not running out of cards. So remember, if I'd run out of cards, I would have immediately lost the game. But looks like I can deal with the enemies, finish off the final boss, and I survived the encounter with the enemies. The question is, did I gain enough honor, Eyo, to win the game? Let's find out. 3. I'll do this your way. Just 26 honor points. The Yojimbo is ashamed. He did not win the game.
So when I started the video, I said that I'm not usually too interested in solo games, and I'm not usually too interested in cooperative games, and that Andrea had a lot of work to do to persuade me this would be interesting. But it is interesting, and I think it's quite evocative of the period. I think he's done very well with the theme. The illustrations are terrific. I asked him what his influences were, and he said that he used to play the 1989 DOS game called Sword of the Samurai, which was by Microprose, and this had waves of enemies and the samurai having to stand his ground, and that he was influenced by traditional Japanese literature, Tale of the Heiki, which is a 14th century classic and tells the tale of the arrow cutter who is able to deflect and evade the arrows of the opponent. And so he included this parry mechanism, which appears in this game as deflect, where the entire row of enemies has been deflected. So this has been Eyo by Thundergriff Games. We hope you enjoyed the review, and hope you join us again next week for another game review. Goodbye.